Welcome back to Andertons TV. Look who it is.
Hey.
It's Paul Hindmarsh of Line 6 fame. And just to depress ourselves, Paul, let's have a look at a photograph on screen now of the first time Paul was on Andertons TV. Or might have even been on Rob Chapman's channel. But when we were playing with the original Helix. So here it is now. How much younger do we look? I've been the captain.
And I've been Paul from Line 6.
Yikes. Yikes. I mean, I didn't see that. On my way here, though, I was thinking it's 10 years. 10 years since we did the Helix. Oh, no, so we did the Helix video, but previous to that, we did the Dream Rig video, which must have been...
Oh my God, 14, so that's like DT25 Dream Rig.
14, 15 years ago. So
I still think that was a great little rig, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that's
so
great.
what were we using with DT?
Well, it was DT. I think we had the DT25, the DT50. We had Variacs. We were doing all the different tuning things.
So did we have an outboard effects unit with that, or was it just the
guitar?
No,
that was with Pod HD 500 when that first came out. So we did that. It was my first. I've been here to do training before, and I think on that day I was actually going to do training anyway. And then Rob and yourself dragged us into the room to do the video, and then since then. I think I can catalogue the various stages of my life by hand. Does
the bit of your grey in your beard, does it sort of gradually expand up your sort of face as the longer the video's gone? Anyway, look.
Let's not go into all the changes. There's all kinds of things going on.
It's lovely to have you back. Your playing is still one of my favourite guitar players that I know.
I'm not your favourite Geordie, though.
Your second favourite Geordie now, obviously. And my guitar, my new Strat, is having a treat today as Paul's playing it and making it sound better than I do. But that's not the point. Today is the first time we have had the new Helix Stadium XL in the studio. I had a little play at Guitar Summit with you and Eric Klein in a little sort of secret room at the back of the show, and I was very impressed with some of the changes you'd made to the user interface, and a couple of the sounds were quite immersive as well. But we're going to have a bit of a deeper dive today. I think we're going to focus two parts of this video. I'd like to hear as much as possible. So I'd like to hear the amp models that you think are your favorite ones, the effects that you think are your favorite ones, and stuff like that. And then what we'll do in the sort of second half of the video is we'll have a look at how the screen has been updated and how the sort of the general user interface has been upgraded from Helix. So what was that first patch that you were messing around with?
So first patch there is my go-to amp model, which is just the Brit Plexi. Brit Plexi sound's been my sort of favourite go-to sound for God, I don't know how many years. And this just does such a great job of recreating that. The dynamics are there, you know, it responds the way I'd like it to respond and everything. So yeah,
and that's a challenging amp, right?
Because there's louds and softs.
Brit Plexi will go anything from the extreme end of gain. When I say extreme, I don't mean like as in modern metal. But where the amp is overdriving in the preamp, it's overdriving in the power amp, and the sag is a real characteristic of it. But that amp will also go right through to chimey big clean sounds, depending almost on how you play
absolutely.
it. Right? That's a great place to start then. Probably, and these are all, we should say, these are all Line 6 models of amplifier. So the whatever you guys are going to call capturing or profiling or whatever the name you're going to give it to, that is a feature upgrade that hasn't happened yet on Helix Stadium, but will happen in 2026. So we're not looking at that
Dead
today.
right, yes. Dead right.
So okay, let's go back to let's just have a look at the amp then. So I love this feature. Oh no, I don't, because I pressed the wrong button. I need to be on this one and then this one. See how quick I'm getting used to this. So here's our amp, Brit Plexi. You got a little bit of reverb.
I have. It's really straightforward. I mean, if I come out of this feature, but I do want to go and spend most of the time in that, you can see the signal path here. So same as it's very, very familiar to anybody who's got a Helix, a familiar workflow. It's anybody who's switching over is gonna be very, very familiar with it. So you can see I'm running through a whole bunch of effects, most of them off. Then we're hitting, but I have the option of switching those on, obviously. Then I've got 4x12 carb, I believe it is. Yeah, it will be. 4x12 greenbacks. And then I've got reverb and a delay on parallel paths there as well. So it's nice and straightforward. And there's a looper at the end there if we wanted to use that as well.
Let's dig into this amplifier. So all of the settings are across the bottom of the amplifier here, and obviously we can adjust all those. I'm interested in the how the dynamics have changed, because I think we've reached a point in the last 3 or 4 years where it's almost like all the brands have created units where all the amps sound convincing and all the effects are great and you can chain them all up with multipath and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of think like if there's two things still to convince people about, it's like how real do they feel to play?
Yeah.
And also just how easy is it to use. So let's stick with that. How real do they feel to play? And like I say, I think this Brit Plexi is a great place to start.
Okay, yeah, so I mean, it should be, we mentioned that, you know, the previous Helix, all of the models that are in there are in here as well. So you have access, I mean, I think there's 112 different previous Helix models. But this new Stadium has all new Agoura modeling, which is a whole new methodology.
And is Brit Plexi and Agoura model?
It is one of the Agoura models, yeah. And all the presets that I've got are Agoura models because they do feel more realistic when you play. I don't think it necessarily translates when somebody else is playing on a YouTube video, but when you're sitting actually playing, it's going to be a lot more responsive and feel a lot more like you're actually
what we need to
into
focus in on here is Paul's stank face more than the sound. Like, does it look like he's enjoying playing this? No, go on, let's take it without let's go. Let's do like you would old school. So let's just get all the dynamics.
Yeah, sure. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to come out of that mode and I'm going to switch this into stomp mode. So this is all the stomp pedals that I have assigned in here. We've still got the capacitive touch foot switches as well, so you can toggle any of these on and off as you see fit. So we can see that there's basically just some delay and some reverb there at the moment, but if I play it really soft.
I don't see one here, and I'm not hearing any background noise. But is there a noise gate on somewhere in here?
There would be a gate. I think I've got a gate just on the input there. Yes.
Fine. Yeah, so there's a little bit of
a little bit of gate.
Okay, but it's not. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's obviously having the desired effect of getting rid of any hum. But there isn't really a sense that the unit is struggling to tell the difference between a really lightly picked note and background noise, which is my big bugbear.
Yeah, it's a very mild sort of gate there, but you can, play really, really cool.
It's picking up everything there, isn't it? As the fact that the note is sounding more mellow if you soft pick, and you can hear the sharpness of the attack if you dig in.
Absolutely, I think you can hear the difference when I switch to thumb and fingers as well. Yeah, string noise, it's all there. But if I want to play, there's no overdrive on there as well, that's just me. We haven't done anything to the preset.
I think this is an interesting one as well, because I think this is where models outperform captures. I sort of feel like when I used to be of the opinion that captures always sounded better than models. But I think that was just because if you've got your guitar on 10 and you've set the amp up exactly how you want it and you've captured that, in that one instance, that's still a killer sound. But as soon as you start messing with either settings on the guitar or settings on the amplifier, it doesn't replicate what the amp would really do. Whereas on a model, I think you can have a much better stab at kind of trying to make the unit.
Yeah, I think so. And you can tweak it like the original. Obviously, as you know, we're modeling all the components inside an amp and all these different things, and more of that with the Agoura models now as well. So there's just a whole new method for modeling the amps that we have, because Line 6 love real tube amps, and they love everybody's obsessed with them. We've got a great place in Calabasas where we've got all this gear. So every time some new modeling technology comes along, or ability to model, we can go back to those amplifiers and pull out those and model all kinds of modeling cable, like capacitance and cables, and
I've got
all kinds of things.
two questions. One is I want to hear this now, maybe with a pedal dumped in. I know the T-Mar is a sort of Timmy, sort of like light overdrive. Remind me again, what's the Hedgehog?
So that's a SD9.
Okay, so it's a higher gain kind of drive
Yeah.
pedal. So I want to hear these two either in isolation or together.
Yeah.
And then you've done something really interesting, which I'd never seen before, which you've loaded two IRs by the looks of things in here, and you're toggling. It's the same cab, but one mic'd up with a 57 versus one mic'd up with a different mic.
So
is that just for demo purposes?
This is just a remnant of a preset, because when you load in one of the models, you can have a setting now where it'll load in a cab. So there's a default cab for it if you want to do it. So there's it's the linked cab. I'm used to sound with an SM57.
Right.
So I created an SM57. So all that's happening there is it's actually toggling between what was the
interesting.
the default amp for it and the one that I want.
Okay,
so
fine.
It's not. It was.
I thought that was
just a
maybe
remnant.
you were sort of doing that as for some sort of, I don't know, tonal patch reason.
I could do it. There would be a better way of doing it than the way I have there, because I'd probably use Snapshots to do that instead of the way that's on there. So it's a remnant of me building the preset and leaving a trail.
Let's see what your Brit Plexi sounds like with the T-Mar. I mean, that sounds really good. And interestingly, and this is the bit we'll come to in the second half of the video. So when I clicked on the Timmy, what do you call it when I just touched the...
So that's a capacitive touch foot switches.
Fine.
So anything...
So you can very quickly change what you're seeing on the screen by hitting... So I'm not pushing it to switch it, I'm just touching it.
Yeah, enough.
And then you can kind of see pretty quickly, you can go, all right, well, that pedal has gain, bass cut, treble cut, clipping, and level, that's fine. But if you don't really know what that means, and this is the genius, this will be, I'm going to put my prediction in here, everyone will copy this, I'm afraid, line 6. This will just become the new normal for this sort of product. If you hit this little wheel of something or other over
it's
here,
a lens, we call it, focus view lens, yes.
You then get this lovely thing where, so nothing's changed in terms of the knobs at the bottom, but if you're like, I don't really know what bass cut and treble cut would do on a Timmy pedal, you just have these words like low gain push here, higher gain, Tim is angry, don't know what that means, who's Tim, pushed harder, or mid gain drive, and by just moving the lens round.
So if I could just rewind you for a second there.
Of course,
just
please
slightly,
do.
because what we also have in here, before we get too far into the focus view, because that's such an important section, is if you don't know what those different things do, or those different parameters do on any of the amps or anything, if you actually just touch it, it'll actually tell you exactly what that is there. So if you don't know what the clipping is doing on that, there's actually a description on every single parameter inside there now. So if you're trying to learn, like, just learn about gear and learn all those different things, it's all.
I wonder if in the UK we can get away with selling this with no VAT as some sort of educational resource. Probably not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
this is
so that's it. So it's a
wow. We're all going to
great
learn
social
loads.
things. Yeah.
Sound better, learn more.
Absolutely. I mean, some of it's going to be very, very basic, but some of it's going to be much more elaborate if you're talking about sag and hum and ripple bypass, or ripple
That's a great example. I think
amps.
when you hear people talking about sag and ripple and stuff like that, I think people do have different understanding of what that even means. So it's quite good that you're clarifying it. We'll come back to that though, because I like that feature a lot. Let's dump in another overdrive pedal over the top of that. See what it sounds like.
Yeah. So now I'm going to fast forward you a bit to where you were before. So because we do need to talk about this focus view lens. So if you're in this mode here and you're using the capacitive touch foot switches, anything that you touch instantly will appear on that focus view screen. Yeah. So this is a whole new way of, and I've assigned the amp to a pedal just so I can bring it up on this screen as well. And then we have these 5 different focus zones. So it's a whole new way of being able to edit presets in that you do exactly what you just said there. So if we take that,
I think look at the settings along the bottom here.
Yep.
And
So we're in
kind
the
of basically look what's happening as I move around. So somebody's taken the time to relate the descriptive word in the corner and in the middle to a setting on an amplifier so that you don't have to do that. So you can just go, well, look, I want this. To be fair,
that's a lot of work.
If I had not a criticism of it, but some of the descriptive words are more obvious than others. Like, for example, I'm not entirely sure I'd really know what I wanted if I went towards Rembrandt. I'm not sure I know what's happening there. Cliffs, I'm guessing what Cliffs of Dover. So I guess I would probably guess that that's what going sort of Eric Johnson-y down here, is it? Is Rembrandt just another song that I don't know?
I don't know.
But
I
believe somebody told me, it may even have been you, that right now in the firmware upgrade, those definitions are set, but that potentially one of the future sort of firmware upgrades will give you the option to create your own sort of definitions and your own sort of settings. So that's pretty cool.
So right now,
that's super cool. It's probably one of my, if I had to list my sort of 3 favorite things about it, I think that would be in there.
Yeah. So again, it could be a tuitional type of thing as well. So maybe it's not such a great example on the terms there, but if you have an amp, some of the zones that are called like loose or tight, or
on the reverb, it's super. You know, bright splash, short, hot, pad play. Well, maybe not. Hallelujah, yeah, baby.
And once you start dropping them, once you start dragging them over the side, if you're wanting to learn about that stuff, you'll see what the guys at Line 6 have actually done to make it looser or tighter or anything as well. So again, it's sort of very good tuitional thing. And you're right, there will be a point where you will be able to program 5 of your own focus zones and switch between those as well. So it'll be your, who knows what names you might come up with, but you can actually, John,
Eric, Stevie, anyway.
Yeah, that would work.
David. In the middle, me.
But for editing now, and not having to go to a parameter and actually turn a knob, but actually be able to drag round on this sort of XY thing.
It's very cool.
So if I could just play it, you could switch the Univibe in and.
I will also say as well, one of the things that I think Line 6 have always been at the sort of forefront of is the qualities of the reverbs and the delays in Helix. That dynamic plate reverb is just, I would just put that on every single patch. It's like there's probably about 500 reverbs in there. It's just like, no, dynamic plate, every single one, perfect.
But I think that idea of being in a situation, even in a live situation, or to be able to quickly move through and go, well, actually, I want to change the sound. I want to change the sound of the SD9. Actually, I want a more full plexi sound. The delay, I want to be longish delay as opposed to that. The dynamic plate, I want more of that. So you can just bounce all the way between here and move
and
this around.
You don't have to know anything about what anything does, do you?
No.
It's perfect. Perfect for guitar players. Anyone would think this has been designed for guitar players. All right, let's move on to we've done everything here with your first preset, so we need to go back to like your preset mode, where you're saying your 4, you've got sort of A, B, C, D across the bottom and then pedals on the top.
And I've got 4 stomp pedals along the top. I've actually as an experiment, I color-coded all the presets, which in retrospect probably wasn't such a great idea because they now look like stomp pedals. They normally would be all red along the bottom and that, but yeah, so if we switch over to the solid 100.
And of course, if we don't know what that is, we can press the focus button and we have a little bit of obviously visual giveaway as to what it is.
What should happen with all of these presets is I saved them in focus view mode.
Right.
So everything should come up with the actual...
So this is your So Solid Crew patch, is it? Awesome. 21 seconds to go. And I'm slightly glad that you just turned that on because, wow, that's blown my mind a bit. Because one of the things that I think that's fun to play with real amplifiers is the interaction between the guitar and what's coming out of the amplifier, and particularly how that would affect, the sort of natural feedback that would occur. And if you elect to go over to a unit like this, especially if you're playing at home where you're maybe just going to hear it through some little studio monitors or whatever like that, you're unlikely to ever be able to replicate that kind of feedback interaction. But you put on a pedal there called Feedbacker. But I've tried feedback pedals before, it might have been Digitech, and they just don't sound natural. It's like they make a noise that I suppose sounds a bit like feedback, but the way it was just naturally occurring as you let the note sustain was pretty authentic.
There's a lot of parameters in there. You can get it to change the pitch, so you can have it re-trigger on different pitches for feedback as well. So every time you press a pedal, it'll re-trigger as whether it's going to be an octave above or 2 octaves above or 2 octaves and a fifth above. So there's a lot of cool settings in there. By default in this, I think we have the feedback come on really fast.
Right.
Like I know that when I want feedback, to be on those low notes, and I'm because I'm used to amps as well, I sort of know what I have to do to get the feedback, which is maybe making it sound a bit more realistic because I'm doing what you're supposed to do to get feedback.
But that's just what being a good guitar player is, isn't it? I mean,
being a good demonstrator.
That's what I mean. So you've got an effect that replicates feedback, but you need to know how to play it so that it sounds like the feedback is natural. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I didn't even know that effect existed in here, so I'm impressed. Yeah. Where are we going now?
So that's solid 100.
Okay, so that obviously you would use that for your higher gain stuff. The next one is based on a Vox top boost by the looks of things, AC30 top boost. I have tried this. This is the one that I tried at Mannheim at Guitar Summit, and I find the AC30 digital model sound that I've grown up listening to over the last 20 years of digital products being out is an overly characterized, boxy sound that to me doesn't actually sound like the amplifier when you play it. Mm-hmm. And the comment I made to Erica in Mannheim was this actually does feel more, or at least it sounded to me like less of that boxy characteristic and more actually how the amp does really sound. Yeah. So that was I actually wouldn't even say necessarily that I don't think necessarily it's a sound that I would want to use much, but I accept that I think this has done a better model of the Vox than I've heard previous models do. But yeah, let's have a listen. On that amp, what could you do, for example, if you just wanted to send it into more of that sort of classic rock and roll driven AC30? Is it just turn it up?
So, obviously you could turn up the drives, you could do whatever you want. You could obviously go back into focus view, focus lens view, which would be the best thing. The other thing that we do need to talk about, which we should have talked probably about on the Plexi, is that all of the Agoura amps have a new feature here as well, which is called the hype control. So what Line 6 have always strived to do is make an amp model sound as realistic as we possibly can. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you hear amplifiers on records and things, they've been tweaked. There's things happened where the engineers, the whole processing chain has added and changed the sound. It may have been compressed. It may have had EQ or anything on it. We've never done that. We've always allowed people to we'd make the amp as close as we possibly can, and then people can add EQ and compressor onto that as well. A lot of other model companies don't do that. They'll actually have like a sort of a hyped version of it. So we have a hype control now. So that would be something that we should explore.
So I suppose a classic. I mean, on the Brit Plexi, you're talking about, I suppose, one of the most classic would be all of the Van Halen kind of stuff, where what you hear in the stem of the pre sort of mastered stuff doesn't sound how it sounds on the record. So you're basically saying that's what the hype control would do, is it would begin to make it sound more like the iconic.
More like it's been recorded in a studio with an engineer and everything. I do kind of always feel like the Van Halen things, it's just the way he played.
Well, yes, he's a good guitar player, yes, for sure.
I think it's very much that one. I think even hearing some of the recent stuff that's come out where you just hear him playing the guitar that's not even plugged in, and it almost sounds like Van Halen straight away. There's harmonics are popping out everywhere and all kinds of stuff
going on.
There's a lot
of Geordie love for Eddie Van Halen, isn't there?
Oh,
so
course.
It's like you and Dagan, you don't stop talking about him. But anyway,
how could you not? It's Eddie Van Halen.
But no, that's what hype is, and is hyper. Okay, so hype is you can adjust the amount of hype.
You can. Now I think actually all my presets don't have it on, which is just again me always trying to get as close to that real amp sound, so it sounds like I've mic'd up a plexi or one of
on this particular look. You play, and I will wind in the hype control, and we can kind of see what's happening. So we've got a fairly low gain Vox sound to start with, right? Adding a bit of extra gain and maybe tightening the bass end up a lot. It's not radically changing the tone, is it?
It depends on how you. The other thing is it depends on how you've actually dialed the amp in the first place. So it works it works with that as well. Some of them are more dynamic. Are more obvious than others. Some of them it would probably be a case of you actually playing, you being the one with the guitar, and then see. Yeah. So some of it certainly seems to boost the low end. Yeah, sort of just compress it and give it a bit more oomph, I guess. And even if we could go back to the to that and do the same thing, which we probably should have done before. So again, that's on the pace. Familiar to everybody who's had a Helix. You go.
Yeah. Well, come on. Let's hype this sound up. More mid-range, isn't there? And I think it's quite a cool.
Taming some of the things that you maybe don't want to have on a mic'd up.
For me, this kind of feature leans into that lens feature as well. It's all about kind of taking the technical terms away and giving much more descriptive, sort of familiar. Like when we talk about with PED, like I need it more chewy and more organic and all that kind of. It's like, what doesn't it mean anything, does it?
But I'm sure you'll find chewy and organic will be on some of the focus view zones as well. But yeah, that's a big thing. All of the Agoura amp models have those. So, and incidentally, there's currently 22 Agoura amp models in there. So you have all of the original Helix stuff, which is 112 amps and 274 effects. This adds 22 Agoura models, which a little detail is it's actually more like 40 because of the way that we call the models out now. So the Brit Plexi that we had there's actually 3 models in that, because there's a normal bright channel and a jumped channel.
Yeah.
So that's what you're gonna get is on those Agoura models. Yeah.
Now, this wouldn't be an Andertons Helix video if I didn't find something to criticise about it. So I did notice that if you're using the patches, so this ABCD thing, and switching between them, there's a period, like a split-second period, where obviously the patch you're leaving stops, and then split second before the patch that you're going to. In fact, perhaps we can just demonstrate that if you just play a chord, and I'll just do the... Sorry, Paul, I need to do this.
Asking me to demonstrate.
Yes, come on. That's what I'm talking about. That's been a part of using multi-effects processors of many brands over the years. Yeah. But I had thought more recently that had become almost like a thing of the past. But you're saying. Well, you tell me what's the line 6 line on how you would actually because you're saying basically you just wouldn't switch between two patches
I
like
think
that.
to a degree that little split's always going to be there, and there's various different ways of hiding that if you're changing presets, which you can talk about as well. But it's just because everything's being switched off and then everything's being switched on again, so you're actually loading the model. So there's inevitably going to be some kind of change over time there. The original Helix had a feature where you could, on this, again, there's 4 stereo paths on here, things that you'd be familiar with if you looked at any Helix stuff. We had a feature in there where you could switch off the bottom path and just use the top two paths. And then that freed up some DSP, so the switching was seamless when you went to the next preset. So it wasn't even just trails, everything was seamless, but it did mean that you lost your bottom 2 paths, which all of these presets I'm just using once. I've got 3 stereo paths here. I guess I'm using 2 stereo paths because I've got parallel on the delay and the reverb there. That feature will be moving over to this, so you will be able to do that and go into that mode. The common thing that everybody does, including myself, is use snapshots.
Yeah.
So snapshots is a way of, if you wanted to switch between this Brit Plexi and then the SX amp, you would just add the SX amp to that same preset, and then you would create a snapshot. And there's 8 of those where you could have it so it was Brit Plexi on the jumped sound. You could then have snapshot number 2 could be the Brit Plexi, but now it's switched to just the normal channel. But it's also added a little bit of drive, and it's also added a little bit of treble. And then you can go to snapshot number 3, which could bring in a univibe pedal. You could bring in snapshot number 4, which give you a volume boost, and then added a delay, raised the delay mix to that as well. So I did a whole gig last week, and I tend to stay on, it's original stuff, so I can get away with it maybe more than if you're in a covers band. But I just sit on one preset all the time.
But just, again, trying to put it into sort of super layman's terms, it's almost, if you can completely change your signal path within a snapshot, rather than changing the patch, like what?
So that's not what you're doing. Those because they're in one preset and you're not changing the preset, they're not going away. They're not going. That Brit Plexi sound's not going away and then being loaded up again.
That's what I mean. It's almost like, to a certain degree, I think what people need to just accept as a user here is, if you need 30 different guitar sounds, don't create 30 different patches. Create, you maybe of those 30 sounds, what you're really saying is try and keep it to sort of 5 basic sort of patches and use the snapshot thing. And just so that we're super clear, if I had a preset that was Brit Plexi with a Timmy pedal, a plate reverb, and a delay pedal, could I save as a snapshot within that same patch a different amp, a different overdrive pedal, a different reverb, and a different delay, and it would switch instantaneously to the second snapshot without a dropout?
Yes.
So I think that's the point, because in my head I think most of us would go, I'll create 2 patches to do that, but you've just got to try and not do that.
That's not the way that I would do it, because snapshots, that was the way you used to have to do it until, but now snapshots and things. And what's happening there is, if you think that you're not actually switching off all these things that you see on the signal path there, they're there.
Just waiting.
They're not. They're waiting there, so they're not having to be loaded up. Nothing's happening there. Yeah. All that's happening is you're toggling between them and toggling between settings on those within each one of those.
So I suppose maybe presets should be seen as songs.
Yeah.
So
you could do that,
because at the end of the day, if you're switching between them in a song, then that nanosecond crossover you do in between the songs, it doesn't matter, right? And then all of your in-song changes you use snapshots for.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the way a lot of people do it. And I think if you press these 2 pedals, that'll bring up your 8 snapshots.
Oh, wow.
So that would be your 8 different variations of this, and you can color code them, you can name them, and do all kinds of fancy things with them as well. So you could have verse, bridge, chorus, or you could just name it as SX amp. Like Brit Plexi.
Yeah.
Plexi Tim, whichever you need.
Do I just press these?
Yeah, you should be able to press those to come back.
Cool.
Over, yeah.
Let's have a bit more playing with the final one of your 4. Unless you've got.
Oh, I've got loads.
Do you know what? It's fine. 4 is enough. I think these are a great 4. You've done sort of like mid gain, high gain, AC. Now we're going Fender clean. So we've kind of they're the 4 main sort of sounds people want to hear, I guess.
Yeah, so this is the twin. These are my presets. If anybody wants these presets, I can sort that out as well. So we can. And incidentally, if you've already got a Helix, it won't work the other way. But if you can import all of your set lists and presets straight into this.
I forget how the Helix cloud works. Is it it's just a free thing you upload to the cloud? Anyone can access. Anyone can download.
So there's custom tone, yeah. You could do it via custom tone, or you can just drag. This comes with the Stadium Edit sort of app, right. Well, the for PC and for Mac. So you could just drag your set lists, which is all your presets in the order that you want. You can drag all your presets on the desktop and then just move them over to there. There is a couple of caveats in that we don't have all of the original Helix cabs in here. We've got all the newer cabs that we did on the 3.5 update, I think it was, maybe even 3.0. So if you, I'd be kind of be surprised if anybody's using the original cabs, because when we did the update, for me, there was a big improvement. So if you are using legacy cabs and you try to import all your presets, it will. I haven't done it, but it should auto convert them into the new cabs. So they might sound a little bit different, hopefully better. And on the subject of that, I should probably point out that when this was redesigned, the inputs and outputs are all higher. Well, there's better dynamic range on these as well. So the very first thing that I noticed on this was just dialing anything in, and everything just sounded a little bit sort of clearer and brighter and smoother. Anyway, like even using some of the HX models in there, I think there's and again, it's something I haven't done where I've put an original Helix next to this and used the same model and actually A/B the sound. But I think all of your presets and all your sounds should sound nice on Stadium.
Cool. Let's have a bit of playing of this last, and then we'll finish off with maybe some of the sort of the feature deep dive. Anyway.
Yeah. Well spotted.
Sorry.
Lose that delay as well.
You love a stereo delay, don't you?
I did when I did these for some reason.
That sounds great, man. We did 4 basic presets and a few different pedals and stuff like that. Multiply that by like 100 and you get a rough idea of kind of what you could go and do with this. I want to try and remind myself, let's see if I can remember this. Okay, so I want to add like a clon or a different style overdrive here. And I'm trying to do this from memory, so this isn't rehearsed, right? So I kind of know, and in all fairness, this is not dissimilar to a lot of sort of contemporary kind of products to the Helix. So I kind of tap on the line, and I see this little white clear block comes up.
Yep.
And down at the bottom, I can see there are pages and pages of this. Yeah. So there's a couple of pages of all the different pedal or effects that I could add in. Now I know I want an overdrive pedal, so I go overdrive.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is all touch screen as well, so I can kind of change that if I want to.
Yeah, you've got that list view there as well. So we've actually incorporated the icons that we've been using in the software in Helix Native. They're now actually on the screen there. So yeah, you can. Again,
this is quite nice because I'd forgotten what Line 6 call their clone, but I've just seen there's a pedal there that looks like a clon, and then it says Minotaur underneath, and I've gone that's remembered. That is what it is. So I've hit that.
I mean, incidentally, as well as this tuition thing, it actually comes up and tells you what the model is now as well, which we never used to have, but they're all in there. So as you go through that, you can learn what the actual gear was.
Guessing because I had some spare switches down here, it's automatically loaded. The Minotaur in as a stomp pedal as well, and then I've got gain, tone, and level, which are the 3, and I presume. Yeah, look at this. This is cool, right? If I really didn't, I've got my focus button, and it gives me some ideas of where I might want to go with that. That was kind of all I really wanted to sort of do, was just to go, can I remember how to add an effect? So that's that's good. Passes the yes, Lee can remember how to do this. I mean, obviously, as you've rightly said, with your multiple signal paths, you could get much more sophisticated with regards to sort of, running effects in parallel with different, different amps, or just having.
So that's something that's on Stadium that's changed. I mean, there's a bunch of sort of differences there as well. So the 4 stereo paths now have 12 blocks on them as well. So that's increased from the original Helix, and you can now have multiple split and merge points as well. So you can start dragging things down onto different paths. As always, you can start dragging things onto different paths and split the signal equally, or you can split the signal based on how hard you play. So if you really dig in, you can actually have it switch path there as well. You can have it switching with a crossover. So all of that kind of thing.
It's a nice touchscreen. I think to date, I mean, we're right at the beginning of December. My favourite review that I've seen of this so far was the little series Rhett Shull is doing. And one of the things he commented on was actually the touchscreen doesn't do. You can go back. You can see loads of video demonstrations over the years on not just the Andertons channel, but where the demonstrator tries to move something and it doesn't move, and they have to go. It's like where the touchscreen hasn't picked up that your fingers touched it, whatever. So you go back, you do it again, it's all fine. I haven't had that yet with Helix,
it's
and
really
it's something
responsive,
that Rhett comments on as well. And he's used it a lot more than I have. Can we hear this with the minor talk? It's one of my favourite kind of Fender twinny thing with a clon.
Yeah. Although it will have, because I need to get rid of this because we were splitting the signal there.
Oh, I
see. I need to get rid of a bunch of these things. Oh, we've lost the reverb there. We do have an undo feature now. Which is new to Stadium.
Just explain.
Which is exactly what I was trying to do with that demo. That's exactly the way I was trying to go.
So you added like a split, like a side chain of some sort to this, did you? So I've just got to add that overdrive pedal back in, which is easy peasy.
If you double tap, you'll get back to this.
Go back to that. So now. And if you're like a super pedal geek and you go, is it Klon before Tube Screamer or Tube Screamer before Klon or whatever like that, it's as simple as just going, there we are, I'll drag it there, and then you can find out. Good demo so far, like it.
Good.
There's, I like the fact that the new hardware is slightly smaller than old Helix.
Yeah, smaller and lighter, like quite considerably.
I like that you've got the bottom row at a sort of a different height to the top row. I think that's all cool. Mm-hmm. We should mention that early part of next year, maybe by spring next year, there'll be a version of this with no expression pedal. So if you're looking at this going, I just need it even smaller and I don't need the expression pedal.
Yeah, you'll lose a couple of things. You won't have the scribble strips either.
Oh, okay.
So there's no scribble strips. You will lose one of the inputs. You'll lose a couple of effects loops, and you will lose a control jack for adding extra expression pedal, because there's 3 on this, I believe. So there's a couple of different things when you go down to Stadium.
Crazy amounts of ins and outs.
There is. Everything's fairly similar to original Helix, apart from we now have the Nexus connection there. So if you use Variax or Line 6 Link with power cab or anything like that, you will be able to buy an Expand D10 box at some point next year. So you will be able to use your Variax with this. You just won't be able to plug into it sort of directly right now. And there's so many new features in there. You can obviously all the cool features we had in the original Helix. You can now search. I don't know if we talked about that. You can now search for the models. Did we talk about that?
No.
So if we actually go in there, there's a search button there, so you could actually type in which company would
I'm searching for. So if I want a Friedman, for example, I don't.
It's already come up with the 2.
Fine. So that's quite interesting. So obviously, and this is great, because I think people often, clearly you've got all sorts of licensing and copyright issues about what you can call stuff.
Yep.
So sometimes the amps aren't immediately obvious what you've copied them, but you can just do that.
So you can
type
type it in. And if you do that in the presets, it'll actually look through all the presets for any of the presets that have got any of those models in there.
Just want to see, just because.
I don't think there isn't. There isn't. It's maybe something we should look at, though. Maybe something we should look at.
One day. One day.
It'll go through all. Yeah, it'll go through all those presets. You can now. I mean, it's good that you land on this page. I just did this last night in the hotel room.
I was about to say, what's my favourite?
I don't think I put anything in there, but you can actually organise favourites.
My favourite is just listening to you play.
Oh, thank you. So there's folders for favourites now. You can actually save any of them. You can use a defaults. So if there's a particular setting that you always go to on the Minotaur pedal,
right,
it'll save that as the actual user default. So it'll always have that on there. There's information. I'm just going to quickly blast through a whole bunch of features here.
You go for it, absolutely.
Each one of the presets now has information on it. So this one.
There's a bigger text button. Absolutely. So yes, us slightly short-sighted aging guitar players who have their iPhones set to literally sort of maximum font size mode.
That's me. That's me as well. So you can actually go through and you got all the. I haven't done this on my presets, but I could have added a load of information, which could be really handy if you have 8 different snapshots set up set up to do different things. You can actually add that information there now. And then, on the factory presets, if I press this and go to the factory presets and load those in, each one of these now has
oh wow,
a clip. So you can start. You can't do it currently, but you will be able to create a preset and then add the clips. Add clips to it. So I could create my presets. I could send them down to you. They would have me playing my drop D blues riff, and I wouldn't even need to be here.
I think we started right at the beginning of this video with a comment around. It doesn't feel like the way, Line 6 are going to outdo Neural, or Neural are out going to do Kemper or whatever. It doesn't feel like that's really about how does it sound anymore. I think there's almost an acceptance that, there's bound to be things that one player will prefer one unit over the next, whatever. But the idea that, they all sound pretty authentic. It feels to me like the next battleground, and interesting that, I don't know, actually I thought Headrush actually, I'm not sure necessarily Headrush were trying to compete at this kind of pro level, but actually I thought their last Headrush Prime had sort of started to go, we need to make these products more intuitive to use. Spark is a great example of a company like Positive Grid who've had tons of success by just going, we need to develop the software so that the guitar player doesn't get like going, I don't understand. It's like, and it almost feels like Helix is really taking that into quite a pro level unit, but not assuming everyone's a pro.
Yeah, I think we've always been great at that as well. I've always found stuff very easy to use. But yeah, absolutely. The tuition things and everything we've got on there. So and the idea is if you go into a store and you, as well, that you not only you can play through any of the presets, but you'll know what type of get your words out. You'll know what type of playing that preset was actually meant for, and then ultimately be able to add those yourself, and and all kinds of incredible sort of things coming in the future. In terms of just to quickly go back to the Agoura models, I'd kind of urge everybody to just try the Agoura models. Like rather than listening to them on YouTube with somebody else playing, because they feel different. HX models sound great in the original Helix. The new ones, when you're in there and you're actually playing with them, they are there's more dynamic, they're more responsive, but they just feel better.
Interesting.
Underneath your fingers. So you really need to try it and actually use that.
I think I'm going to go back on right again at the beginning of this video. I said we'd sort of almost make it 2-part, listen to the sounds, then do the user interface. But I think we've just ended up doing the two things simultaneously as we've gone through. So look, that's the end of this demo. And please come down to Andertons if you want to sort of get your hands on one yourself. And again, I've enjoyed watching the Rhett Shull videos on Helix Stadium. So go and maybe check his out. He's going on tour next year, so his videos are much more about how he's going to use the Helix within his new touring sort of setup and stuff. So it's quite informative. Paul isn't rushing off yet because we're going to film another video now about a couple of new features that will be in the next firmware upgrade, and we have a sort of a beta version of that now. So loosely speaking, that is what, Snapshot and...
No, so Snapshots are there already.
Sorry,
Showcase.
Showcase.
Yes.
I didn't mean Snapshot, I meant Showcase. So Showcase,
what you meant.
and what's the other thing that's going to be in the next
There's
firmware?
some new amp models as well. Three
Fine.
new amp models.
So obviously all the firmware upgrades are free. So you basically, dive in, buy the Helix now and enjoy, obviously, every subsequent firmware upgrade. But yes, thank you so much, Paul, for coming in.
Thank you
guys for watching. I know these Helix videos are often a little longer than our normal format. But yeah, if you're interested in Showcase and some of the new models that are coming, please like and subscribe to the Andertons YouTube channel. You'll get a notification then of all the videos that go live. And in a few weeks' time, that video will get released when the firmware update is available to the general public. So, Mr. Paul, thank you so much.
You. Always a pleasure.
Ready to do it all
a
again?
Pleasure. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks.
Links below if you want to buy yourself one of these. Please buy it from Andertons. That would be awesome. Anyway, see you next time. Bye-bye.